So today's session is really centered around this line around how to get going in 30 seconds, avoiding all the database management, patching, upgrading, tuning, scaling, monitoring. Wow, that is a mouthful. And obviously, we're going to have different perspectives around what that means to everyone. So I'm a developer, Jason, both the Jason. Actually, that's going to be a hard one to cover.
JG and JR, J Lowe.
Yeah. Well done. Well done. So, Mr. Grogan, I'd actually open up with you, mate. What do you think? What do you think when you look at that line about how to get going in 30 seconds and all that? What's your first point that comes to mind?
Well, I think autonomous database, and because I know I can go in there, click. The hardest thing I've got to think up is a password. And then 30 seconds later, I've got a database, but I've not only got a database, obviously an Oracle database, I've got an Oracle database running on an Exadata, and I haven't had to do anything but just think up one password and click a button. So that's certainly what I think of every time if someone says to me, how am I going to get a database up and running in 30 seconds?
JR?
Yeah, so I've got a slightly, I think the autonomous database is one of our options and one of our solutions, and it's definitely differentiated. I have a slightly different view in that I think that's the expectation of a lot of developers and a lot of consumers of data storage now. People don't want the complexity, they just want somewhere to store their data. Yeah. There have been, approaches with competitors to move to more simplified services, whereas I think Oracle's approach is to take the best of what we have and then create a service that makes it easy to consume. So yeah, I think it's actually, there's no compromise solution in meeting those simple requirements that people are having more and more.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like about the fact that this is your Oracle version that you've got on-premise today, you've got in some of our other services. This is not some special version that you can only run in our cloud, and that is the really nice thing here. You're not having to relearn.
I actually think from a developer's perspective, putting the patching, securing to one side, but just the traditional provisioning. Yeah, you can. We've done Oracle on Docker for a while, and you can do that on-prem. You've got your engineered systems in that kind of style, and even now with things that when you got Terraform, a lot of the infrastructure as code to actually get those things up. That's great to get that in there from a developer's perspective, but you still got to look at, okay, how do I store patches? How do I secure it? How do I keep these things upgraded? Which is, hey, you can tear it down and redo, but can you do that in all these different cases?
Yeah, well, data, so infrastructure as a code and application tiers, you can tear down and pull up, but data is persistent. So it's got a state. So it's not as simple as that in most cases. And then, yeah, I think this sort of does meet the needs of the requirements of, the developers on one hand, or the application teams, and then the operations, because, we keep hearing how important data is. And, the view that you still need, why would you need to compromise the security and the roles and all of these sort of features that exist inherently in the database, as JG said. So you get the ease of use, and then you get a lot of the features but with the autonomous database, all of those patching activities, scaling, the fault tolerance, because it uses rack and engineered systems under the covers, you don't need to know they're there, but that high availability that, the top end customers can deploy for their bigger systems are available in the smallest unit of consumption for the smallest customers. So as a database technologist, it's fantastic to get the ease of this technology into customers' hands. I think it's amazing, actually.
As you say, a large company who wants to consume XR, either via XCS or autonomous, can have that dedicated platform where they're the only people on it. But the shared version of autonomous brings all of that great performance of the Exadata and no hassle around having to worry about patching and backing up and all those sorts of things actually to everybody. And that's great when you want to clone out and give a database to a developer. It's also good if you want to do some operational testing, so it covers you on both ends there, which is really nice. Plus the database actions that we've now built in the back means that you really don't have to install any software now to actually work with your database. If you still want to use SQL Developer, no problem, you can, and you can use it with an encrypted wallet, which is nice and secure. But we now have all those really great tools sitting in the back of, not only the notebooks with Python and PL SQL, but we've got the SQL Developer, web services now, as well as Apex as well. We should nod to Apex, seeing as Stuart's not on the line today.
So easy to provision.
Yes.
Easy to manage, and then easy to use. But no compromises. Like, it's brilliant.
Actually, one of the things when you talk about that provisioning, it's not just about the tech stack, but also the software stack. So some of the new things that sort of popped out like the last couple of weeks has been, and over like the last 6 months, things around Graph Studio have been now bundled in. Different JSON, the JSON version, doing JSON documents. Three of us.
JSON in the database.
How long did it take to actually get that joke in? 10 minutes into the.
We need a counter on the side for that one.
Autonomous is one example of a service we have, but even our other database services have the same sort of benefit, I guess, of breaking the historical licensing model, where if you have licenses, you can consume, create or provision a BYOL, bring your own license model. If you don't have them, then you can provision a license included model. So you can still provision these services with a minimal commitment and have license included, and then you use it for a few minutes and then you can shut it down, or a few days or a few weeks. You can. So if people have got the view that licensing has been a challenge, and it absolutely has. My background is technical and commercial and banking before I joined Oracle, so I understand the complexities. But the flexibility, you can use features that you previously couldn't because you couldn't license them and pay for them for a period, show the benefit, and then determine how you want to use them thereafter. So
those bundles are really nice. And the thing is, as you say, if you come across with BYOL and then you decide you want to retire those licenses and make your life easier and have everything done by the universal credits, it's one button to touch that basically converts. You don't have to rebuild your database or do anything like that. You literally can just say, okay, I'm now going to pay for everything via universal credits. You hit the button and move across. If you then decide you'd like some more resource, which of course would mean more cores, you can obviously restart your database with more cores, and the licensing tracks up with you. You don't have to worry about going off to purchase new licenses. So it just makes the whole world a lot easier in that respect.
Yeah, it's license on your usage. What you've provisioned. You can change it. There's a lot of flexibility there, definitely. So it's technical and commercial. It's great. Once again, you can have different configurations, scale for your usage, smaller disaster recovery, scale up as required. So there's a lot more flexibility than traditionally. And, if you get into physical deployments and whatever, then there's, you've got to license the whole server and all of these complexities, the whole consumption-based, OCPU-based, CPU plus storage. There's the granularity is definitely worthwhile looking into, and the specific use cases will certainly follow up afterwards.
And I find with the way that I'm looking at it is, especially from a sizing and figuring this out, is it's almost just like a pilot light size of a DR. So you can do data guard, you can actually push that across. But then
scale up when you need it.
And scale up when you need it, which then
scale down the prod side as well. So it does transfer. So it's there's a huge amount of commercial and model flexibility, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, that is the really nice thing. You can have your production at one size of cores and obviously your DR at another size, so you're saving the money there. You don't until such time that you have a DR event or a test, and then you can ramp it up. So it's quite nice and flexible in that respect.
Yeah, that's definitely the way we do our modeling and sizing. Definite.
And look at our services. Our dedicated services and our VMs all have data guard, and obviously the lowest version of enterprise, because we've got the different bundles. Obviously, data guard comes with that. Active Data Guard comes in the higher bundles, but you can basically replicate between the two regions, which is great, Sydney and Melbourne, or elsewhere if you really wanted to do that or needed to do that. There's the shared autonomous currently does just Data Guard within region, but we know in the future that we will be able to do that the same as we can do in the dedicated autonomous at the moment. So until we get there, we do have things like the Golden Gate service that's come out recently that allows you to quite easily replicate schemas from Sydney to Melbourne. So we've got you covered in that way, and that's a really easy service. And we'll go into services like that in another talk.
So anything that stands out for you guys?
Are you talking to the Jasons?
Yes.
Well, as I already mentioned, Golden Gate being available in all the regions, that's a really cool service that's basically gone on from what we have originally, you know, to the microservices to now that service that's available. And we will cover that in a tech talk at some point in the future into more detail, going from strength to strength with our VMware support. And thanks to Scott for clarifying that question online for us there as well. You know, but the services that we're starting to offer now, and it is great to see every time we look in here, there's new services or improved services coming along. It's a really cool. The MySQL stuff is good too. More auto scaling, being able to manage how quickly we can burst up and down our instances is quite cool as well. There's a lot of really nice things in there that's coming along. The analytics service, that's interesting too. We're doing a lot around AI, so it's good.
Well, so just quickly, Jay, like I'm a database guy, and I think a lot of the people on this call were database people. So I really encourage people to look at our free tier, look at our trials, have a look at how easy it is to use the technology you've been using for decades in a lot of cases. So definitely, you know, the very strong advocate of the Oracle database. But what I like about a lot of these features is we're talking about how to build the application tier, how to support more modern development approaches, how to integrate with you know, provisioning applications, or, you know, ServiceNow, or, you know, so we're not just looking at it in isolation, or VMware as well. We're looking at how, you know, the database is a big sort of driver for a lot of workloads, but all of these supporting services is what can bring the apps along in a much simpler way as well. So
we will be looking at this from other perspectives and really based upon feedback. So we know that there's information out there that people want to cover off on applications, analytics, machine learning, data science, and
the structure as code, you know, how all these things integrate into existing processes, you know.
Well, I can see from some of the questions, guys, that we will, as well as go over this topic, we will start to think about that. There certainly seems to be some basic things that people want to talk about, like, you know, support and how we upgrade when new versions are coming out. And as much as we can give you that is public content there, we're happy to talk about that, and we'll do that in future sessions.
I think the purpose of these are just general conversation around subject areas of interest. But anyone who's come onto the call, we will more than happily have a one-on-one session and go through big use cases. So please, you know, follow up with us. Yeah, we'll definitely be happy to, you know, address your individual concerns or considerations. Yeah.
Thank you for all your feedback. Thank you for attending the first one. As I said, on 4th of June will be the next one coming up. So looking forward to actually seeing you there.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jason and Sonal, for
Jason.
helping out.
Jason, yes. Thanks, Jays.
Thanks, Jays, and everyone there.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good
guys.
Bye.